Cleopatra's story is usually told in a very simple way. You open Shakespeare and there she is, the seductive queen of Egypt. She enchants powerful Roman men, throws empires into chaos, and then ends her life with the help of a snake. That's it. Done. But is it really that simple? Not quite. Not at all. First of all, let's say this. Never trust leading questions in history. And if the subject is Cleopatra, trust them least of all, because her story has been told by others for centuries, and almost all of those storytellers were Roman. So the narrative was written from Rome's point of view. From the very beginning, Cleopatra was usually squeezed into the role of the woman who led supposedly perfect Roman men astray. That's just how it goes. But if we want to set the legend aside and reach the real woman, we need to go back a bit. Cleopatra's story actually begins about 300 years before her. A young Greek named Alexander decides he wants everything the world has to offer. He marches east, defeats the Persians, conquers everything in his path. And then he dies, leaving no clear heirs behind. The empire shatters. His generals race to grab their share. One of them, Ptolemy, takes Egypt, and thus begins the infamous Ptolemaic dynasty, so confusing it can drive you mad just trying to follow it. This dynasty is Greek in origin. Though they rule along the Nile, their culture is undeniably Greek. Cleopatra is a child of this world. Fast forward 3 centuries. You're in Alexandria, the intellectual capital of the Mediterranean. The greatest library in the world is here. Mathematicians, philosophers, poets, scientists everywhere. And Cleopatra grows up here. As a princess, she receives the best education possible. Homer, Plato, Aristotle, all the classics we know and many more that are now lost. She memorizes, debates, thinks. But what truly sets her apart is speaking. Because Cleopatra's contemporaries do not describe her as unimaginably beautiful, they describe her as captivating. She is a woman who influences people through conversation, and she speaks 10 different languages. While none of her ancestors even bothered to learn Egyptian, she speaks to her people in their own tongue. In short, Cleopatra is extremely intelligent, and this fact has been overshadowed for centuries by stories of her seductiveness. When her father dies, the throne passes to her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. Cleopatra rules alongside him as co-regent, but family conflict is practically tradition among the Ptolemies. Before long, things escalate, and Cleopatra is exiled. At the same time, Rome is in even greater turmoil. Julius Caesar is chasing Pompey across the Mediterranean. Pompey tries to seek refuge in Egypt, but the young king Ptolemy makes a disastrous decision and has Pompey killed. Caesar is furious and takes up residence in Alexandria. For Cleopatra, this is an opportunity. Because she is in exile, she cannot enter the palace openly. So she is smuggled inside. According to legend, she is presented to Caesar rolled up in a carpet. It was probably a much less glamorous laundry sack, but the story sounds better this way. And no, this is not a love-at-first-sight moment. What Cleopatra needs is not a lover, but an ally. And Caesar quickly realizes this. Standing before him is not an inexperienced boy king, but a remarkably intelligent ruler. They are trapped together during the 6-month siege of Alexandria. Caesar would never take such a risk for a mere romantic adventure. Cleopatra is a strategic asset to him. In the end, Ptolemy is defeated. Cleopatra becomes queen, and she truly begins to rule. She associates herself with Isis. On coins, clothing, ceremonies, there is a single message. I am not just a queen, I am divine authority. She reorganizes the economy, deals with droughts, cleanse up the bureaucracy. She reads petitions from the people, punishes corruption, tries to ease tensions between Greeks and Egyptians. For 18 years, what she does can be summed up in one word: she cares. Then Caesar is assassinated. Rome fractures again. The East belongs to Mark Antony, the West to Octavian. Antony needs money. Cleopatra needs Rome's goodwill. Their interests align. Roman sources once again belittle the relationship. A woman seduced a general, they say. But the reality is an alliance between two powerful leaders. Then comes the defeat at Actium. Everything collapses. Antony breaks. His soldiers desert him. Octavian wins. Cleopatra is meant to be displayed in a Roman triumph. She refuses. Her lover is dead. The fate of her children is sealed. And she chooses her own end. Probably not with a snake, but with a quiet, painless poison. She's buried with Antony in Alexandria. Their tomb has never been found. In the end, Cleopatra's life has been overshadowed for 2,000 years by gossip, propaganda, and distortion. But beneath the legend is a woman who used her intelligence, wealth, power, and yes, at times,